Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Rare Elvis Photos here on YouTube. Also, Joe Sins Rare Elvis Photos on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. Um, we've been reading From Here to the Great Unknown, talking about it. Thank you for those of you that have subscribed to me. Thank you to the members here on YouTube, those that have followed me on Facebook and TikTok and all that good stuff. The bulk of our videos are probably going to be reading books about Elvis. We got Elvis and Kathy we read. We're probably going to read it on Facebook. We're reading Good Rocket tonight, The Faith of Elvis, which is Billy Stanley, Elvis's stepbrother. You got Anna Margaret's book, June Wanico, and there's hundreds of others. So everything that you maybe have never heard about Elvis or maybe want to know about Elvis, you should at some point in time on the channel learn about it. And also, I really love your comments. I love seeing your comments, and I've been a little bit remiss in doing comment videos lately, but I'll start doing them again. And yeah, so let's start reading. Thank you to those that have given me super thanks, by the way, and stars lately. Greatly appreciated. We have just in this book gotten to where Ben passes away, and the aftermath at the house. Now we're going to read more about what happened in the weeks following, okay? Alright, so this is Riley. My father moved into my mother's new rental house the next day with us. For 2 weeks, I couldn't really remember how to talk. I could understand what words were, but I couldn't understand how to get them from my thoughts to my lips. Now, people would talk to me, but my mouth wouldn't work. I came to understand how people go mute through trauma. It was July, just a few months into the COVID-19 lockdown. So added to the grief was the terror that we all felt that we might contract the illness ourselves, which at the time was taking the lives of so many people. Everyone wanted to come see us, but we had to isolate, which only made everything so much more surreal. I feel like I also died. I couldn't eat. I couldn't think. I saw Ben's face in everything, everywhere. I couldn't stand up for very long, so I would just lie down most of the time. I felt like I weighed 1,000 pounds. Now, a few friends would break the COVID protocol and come over and give me baths and shave my legs. All I could manage to do was just lie on the floor in the sun. See, I was more physically incapacitated than my parents. I had always been the responsible one. I'd been the one in charge, in taking control of pretty much everything, but I couldn't this time. My parents ended up doing all the arrangements, choosing his coffin, all that. I think they needed to stay busy. But I couldn't even think about it. Couldn't hear anything about the arrangements. I just remember one day I walked into a room where my mom was smoking a cigarette and looking at different coffins, and I turned and walked right back out of the room before she even saw me. I refused to let any of it in. So that's a very dark little section, very full of trauma. I mean, we've all been through losing people. But that feels very, very heavy, doesn't it? Let's continue reading on. I do want to make a quick announcement, though, that Derry Matera, I'll be doing a taping with Derry later this afternoon, and he will be on the channel tomorrow. Okay, so tomorrow morning, expect a new episode of a conversation with Derry Matera. All right, continuing on. Ben was such an angel that to everyone it felt wrong that he'd passed away. Like a mistake had been made. Even people who spent a short amount of time with him knew that he was a force for good. You could sense it emanating off of him like light. It felt like whoever was running this world had just made a colossal error. Now, there were things about my brother I never knew until he passed away, which was upsetting to me because we were so close. For one, I'd never heard him sing. But I found a voice note on his phone of him singing, and his voice was amazing. Rich, gritty, complex. The voice of someone with unseen depths. My mom had a complicated relationship with music and singing, and it was not encouraged in our house. I once asked her for singing lessons when I was around 8, and she said, "I think if you can sing, you can sing. I don't think lessons will do anything." See, someone had told her that. She didn't want any of her kids to do music to protect us from what she had experienced in her music career. Now, I didn't know that Ben had ever thought about taking his life himself, and I was gutted that he hadn't shared his pain with me. Let's talk about that section just real quickly. I'd read somewhere a couple different times that Ben had been either offered a deal for $5 million, a record deal, or given one. Now, maybe it was an offer. Maybe it came through Priscilla. I don't really know the connections of all that stuff. But for Riley to never have heard Ben sing, that's something that we talked about yesterday with Sarah Angel. That's on the channel today. My lips are dry. Sorry about that. That the dysfunction in the family. Not that it was Lisa's fault. She was born into the whole dysfunction and the trauma. But the fact that if Ben could sing really good, and if Riley could sing good, which he could, we heard her on Daisy Jones and the Six, and it wasn't encouraged, it wasn't fostered, it wasn't complimented. Gosh, that's sad. That's sad. Because I think that children need to be complimented on things that they do well, and fostered and nurtured. And that may be part of why Ben internalized and had the issues that he had, one of the reasons at least. Maybe thinking he wasn't good enough. Okay, here we go. My mother and I went through his phone in bed together after he passed away. We were trying to understand what had happened. To put the pieces together. What time had it happened? Who was he talking to? Now, I found an accidental photo he took in the kitchen, presumably while walking back up to his bedroom, just a few minutes before he passed away. We found a text sent to my mom a couple weeks before he passed away that read, "I think something's wrong with me mentally," or something like that. "I think I have a mental health issue." God, that's just... heartbreaking. Riley continues. "It's heartbreaking to me that he only realized that he might need some help like 2 weeks before he did what he did. There would have been so much room for him to try to heal his pain. He hadn't even scratched the surface of his struggles. He hadn't tried and failed. He simply hadn't even tried yet. He hadn't gone to therapy, not even once. And he certainly hadn't attempted what he did before. No OD, nothing. No cry for help. The truth is that he hadn't recognized the depth of his depression until it was already too late, and he went straight for what he went for to end it. I can't say the words. YouTube likes to flag things. The finality of that was so deeply shattering and infinitely confusing. Now, it didn't say infinitely, but I did, because it's infinitely confusing. I mean, there's no... It makes no sense. All we had thought about for months after he passed away were the myriad of ways that this could have been avoided. The drinking and the substances had somewhat dulled his imagination, blocked his access to his soul, his light, his connection to creation or God or beauty or hope, or whatever the life force is called that adds meaning to our lives. This was something I watched happen over time with my mom too. But they hadn't remotely extinguished it. To us, he had felt so alive. He felt joy. He still had his sense of adventure, his humor. Addiction was part of his life, yes, but his desire for joy, his powerful will to live, all that was still there, visible to everyone around him. But there was also the effect of my mom's addiction on him. And when Ben died, I thought it would be a matter of hours until my mother relapsed. But she surprised me and remained completely sober to honor him. She really wanted to get her life together and help others somehow, and she wanted to be of service, but she was too broken. My mom had my brother in the house with us instead of keeping him at the morgue. They told us that if we could tend to the body, we could have him at home, so she kept him in our house for a while on dry ice. It was really important for my mom to have ample time to say goodbye to him, the way she'd done with her dad, and I would go and I would sit in there with him. Now, sorry, his lips. Most of y'all know that already, but for some of you that have stumbled upon this book that didn't know that detail, we couldn't do that. She had enough money and resources to be able to do that. Now, I think that if, as grieving parents, if we had an opportunity for something like that, we probably would too. You know, I mean, I know it seems a little weird, a little strange, but I mean, I hope that y'all don't judge her for that. Even though it seems a little morbid, a little weird, I think it's completely normal with somebody that has just lost their child in that way. But I couldn't imagine that I could go on for a week or two or whatever the time period is with my child in the house. You have to let go at some point in time, or do you? I mean, back in the old days, maybe you didn't. Anyways, that's just another story. For another time with some people that in the past that kind of did something similar. All right. This is Lisa. My house has a separate casitas bedroom, and I kept Ben there for 2 months. There's no law in the state of California that you have to bury someone immediately. I found a very empathetic funeral home owner, and I told her that having my dad in the house after he passed away was incredibly helpful because I could go and spend time with him and talk to him. She said, well, we'll bring Ben to you, and you can have him there. Bring him then, I said. We had to keep the room at 55 degrees. I still didn't know where I was going to bury him. Hawaii? Graceland? Hawaii? Graceland? That was part of why it took so long. But I got so used to him, caring for him and keeping him there. I think it would scare the living heck out of anyone else to have their son in there like that, but not me. The normal process of death is the person dies, they have an autopsy, viewing, funeral, buried, boom. It's over in a 4 to 5 day period, maybe a week if you're lucky. But you don't really have a chance to process it. I felt so fortunate that there was a way that I could still parent him, delay it a little longer so that I could become okay with laying him to rest. 2 months. How do y'all feel about that? If you had an opportunity, would you? Your loved one, your wife, your husband, your son, sister, brother, anybody that dear, best friend. It's a long time. I thought it was 2 weeks. And I'm reading this book for the first time with y'all too, by the way. I didn't get greedy and read ahead and all that other stuff. I wanted y'all to experience the book with me. Even though this book has been out, I went to Riley's book signing event in Nashville. I think it was her second or third one. My wife and I went. And I did a little live stream too. this is the first time I've gotten to that section. All right, Riley continues. A couple of years before he died, my brother had the word Riley tattooed on his collarbone and Lisa Marie tattooed on his hand. After he died, my mom and I had the idea that we should get matching tattoos of his name on the corresponding parts of our bodies. We found a tattoo artist who was able to match Ben's tattoo of my name, and then it came time for him to do my mom's tattoo. Now, we met with the artist in the little courtyard next to the casitas, or casitas, and during the meeting, my mom became adamant that she wanted her tattoo exactly where my brother had his. The artist said that it was possible, but that he'd need to know the font and the positioning. Do you happen to have any photos, he said. No, she said, but I can show you. I looked at my mom, and with my eyes only, I communicated, are you out of your flippin' mind? You've never met this guy before. Do not bring him into that room with my dead brother. I knew she understood my look, but she plowed ahead. He's actually in that room, she said, pointing to the casitas. Lisa Marie Presley had just asked this poor man to look at the body of her dead son, which happened to be right next to us. Now, I've had an extremely absurd life, but this moment is in the top 5. The tattooist agreed to go in there with us, bless him, and my mom led us in there and opened up the casket, and in the most matter-of-fact way imaginable, proceeded to grab my brother's hand and point out the tattoo, discussing its positioning, showing the tattooist where she wanted it on her hand. I stood there aghast, watching him try to engage in the conversation and pretend that this was fine. I'm sure he was thinking, what the is going on? But he stayed that day and did the tattoo perfectly, and right afterwards went back in the house. Soon after that, we all got kind of this vibe from my brother that he didn't want his body in the house anymore. Guys, he seemed to be saying, this is getting weird. Even my mom said that she could feel him talking to her, saying, this is insane, Mom. What are you doing? What the flip? Ben's funeral was the most brutalizing day of my life. The service was held in Malibu, overlooking the ocean, and I think we broke some COVID rules, as there were over 100 people that came. For the entire car ride, there was a shaking in me so hard that I thought I'd shatter or have a heart attack. We followed the hearse, then watched as his coffin was carried by the pallbearers, all of his closest childhood friends. The service was beautiful as it could have been, filled with everything that Ben loved. We'd spent our childhoods in Hawaii, so we had our Hawaiian friend come and play Hawaiian music and bless my brother traditionally. Deepak Chopra led the ceremony. But as beautiful as it was, I found myself needing to close my eyes simply to be able to even bear it. When I'd opened them, I could barely see through tears, and what little I did see was a blurry vision of my little sisters in hysterics, gripping on my brother for dear life. So I just closed my eyes again. I simply was not there. See, I had to disassociate, and my spirit left my body again. Now, I don't remember much other than that. I don't remember much other than I was struggling just to stay alive. I was clinging on to all the words that Deepak was saying, trying to find some calmness in the moment. But I still felt like I was drowning. Everyone had written a letter to my brother, and these were attached to biodegradable balloons and sent into the sky as Jeff Buckley's version of Dylan's I Shall Be Released played. It was just punishing. After that, we sent him to Memphis, to Graceland, to be buried with his grandfather. And in his casket, I'd quietly placed those yellow Nike sneakers that he'd envied when we'd been so happy in Japan. So, obviously Lisa wanted Ben buried at Graceland. And we know where she was laid to rest in Graceland. What we don't know from the reading of this book is how Ben felt about Elvis. So far, we haven't heard nothing about that. Whether Ben watched his grandfather's movies, whether Ben liked his grandfather's music. We know that music was discouraged in the house, which maybe Lisa felt that music brought her sadness, brought her insecurity, brought her father an early death. Maybe she tried to keep her children from that. Now, I've got 2 boys in the house. One's 18, yeah, he's still home. I just graduated early. And one's 9. I mean, I encourage music, although they don't seem to take me up on it. Not much. My 18-year-old used to sing with us at shows, and he used to make great tip money doing it. You know what I'm saying? But he started to feel silly. And my 9-year-old, he's got musical talent, and so it's a complicated thing. I'm a singer. My wife's a singer, and I think that children sometimes, they see the struggles that a parent has, whether they're famous, whether they're not famous, and they say, I don't want that. I don't want that for me. Anyways, let me know what you think about the book so far. I'm going to put this out on the channel. Remember, tomorrow, Daria Matera. If you're watching this and you haven't seen the conversation with Sarah Angel, she's an author on Medium.com. We talk a lot about the Elvis and Lucy Are You Lonesome Tonight book. We talk about Priscilla. We talk about Ben and Lisa. And next time we talk, we're going to have a big conversation about the genealogy of Elvis. So stay tuned. We're also going to have Melissa back on the channel. She was one of our first subscriber series. We need to get Ruby on the channel, and a few of you others. Reach out to me again, rareelvisphotos@gmail.com, if you had shown interest in coming on and having a conversation with me and with all of us fellow Elvis fans. All right, TCB TLC. Till next time, this is Rare Elvis Photos. Thanks for taking some time with me today, and I hope you have a blessed day, and I hope you take care of yourselves. Hope you love yourself. If you're having a rough day, call a friend, leave a comment, let the Elvis world know that you're struggling, and hopefully you get some encouragement, right? That's what it takes, some encouragement and hope to see through another moment, another hour, another day, okay? Because we don't know what's on the other side of the day that we're on. It could be the best day of our lives or one of them. All right, see you now.